how to have clean food and safe food. It's like, okay, you must not have bad bugs, foodborne pathogens. You must not have these on your food, on the table. And by looking at how to control the bad bugs on the food, people may think of all these traditional ways or the previous approaches that they have been using by using a lot of chemicals, antibiotics. So like for me, that is not really safe. It's not the best approach or the appropriate way to control bad bugs.
Hello and welcome to episode 40 of the Exponential Show. Today it is a pleasure of mine to welcome Kitiya Vongkamjan. Kitiya, thank you for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you for having me today, and it's a pleasure to be here.
The pleasure is all mine. Before we start, I'd just like to thank our sponsors, True Digital Park, for hosting us in their podcast room. For those of you who don't know, True Digital Park is one of the best soft landing spots for international businesses and individuals in Thailand. And if you are a business looking for visas, work permits, or even business registration services, cultural immersion, business immersion, this is the place for you to be in Thailand. First of all, it has been a long time coming because Vidushi has been talking about you for a long time, so I'm very excited to finally have you on the show. Let us start with one question that we ask all our guests is, what is your origin story? So what got you into the world of entrepreneurship and specifically your work at UniFAHS? And I understand you started in the world of academia and then jumped ship into entrepreneurship. So can you tell us more about your journey into being the founder and CEO of UniFAHS?
Yes, thank you. So my career, I started as a researcher. So I've been working in the lab, doing experiments like for over 15 years. And now I still have to jump into the lab to kind of help solving some of the lab stuff. Yeah, so I started this project, using the phage technology to promote food safety and, having to use this technology to control bad bacteria, in the food supply chain. So I started this project since my master PhD at Cornell. So I look at how to use, how to explore the potential of using we call a bacteria eater. So this is the phage. So it's like they are tiny microorganisms. It's like the viral particles. So we started from something tiny that people wouldn't think of how to use it. So I look at, this is a potential to use this tiny microorganism to tackle bad disease, infections, to promote food safety, better health and wellness, rather than just using antibiotics treatment or bad chemical treatments in the food supply chain. And we look at the potential to use this in, from farm to fork along this supply. And when I look at it, like where to apply this technology, it must be somewhere where we have, we are producing a lot of foods.
Right.
So I look at the region in Southeast Asia, where we are the kitchen of the world.
Right.
This is where I initiated the project to really look at where to use the technology to be the first adopt into the system. Yeah. And I look at my research, I look at our study pipeline and how we can take this into commercialization.
Interesting. So I'd love to learn more about that journey, but it's at least in the beginning of our conversation, I must acknowledge that it is very encouraging to see a biotech startup in Thailand, because a lot of the businesses and startups we talk about here in Thailand are very consumer-facing B2C. So it's good to see somebody working on in a field like biotech and sort of pushing the envelope in that field. So congratulations
Thank you.
on that. Now, you mentioned briefly about what phage is and sort of how it functions, but if you can maybe educate the uneducated here and maybe tell us about what was the key problem that you identified in the market when you started UniFAHS, and how is your technology and your company addressing that problem? If you can just educate us on that, please.
Yes, so I think briefly I mentioned about food safety. So when we talk about what we eat nowadays, every day we want to have safe food on the table for you, for your kids, for your family. Yeah, everyone is looking at this plate with like having, clean food, safe food. And how to have clean food and safe food, it's like, okay, you must not have bad bugs. Foodborne pathogens, you must not have these on your food on the table. And by looking at how to control the bad bugs on the food, people may think of all these traditional ways or the previous approaches that they have been using by using a lot of chemicals, antibiotics. So like for me, that is not really safe. It's not the best approach or the appropriate way to control, bad bugs coming into the food supply chain. So I look at how our technology, which is the nature-based solution, and this is the great advantage over chemicals, over antibiotics to control the bad bugs, to promote food safety. So as a food producer, you can ensure that the food that you are selling to the consumers are safe. And with that, you don't use antibiotics, you don't use chemical treatments, so it's good for everyone.
Interesting. Yeah, so thanks for that context. And there has been a lot of conversation about how much our food is now contaminated, not just by bugs, but by the insecticides and pesticides and chemicals that go into destroying the bugs before they get into our food. So it's interesting to see that there's a more natural solution to that in the form of phage technology that you're working on. But to dive a little bit deeper into how you identified the problem, was it more of a personal interest that you had in sort of clean eating and clean food, or was it more from the science side where you felt that there was a better mousetrap to so can you just explain how you stumbled onto this problem?
Yeah, I think it's a global movement. If we look at ourselves, we want to we want to live longer. We want to enjoy our lives with our families, friends, and how to live longer by just having to be healthy inside out, and where and everything you expose needs to be safe, right? And there's a global concern about also about superbugs or antimicrobial resistance. So it's like the more antibiotics you apply, you use, the stronger the bacteria will become. And you have the superbugs, and if you don't do anything by 2050, you have more than 10 million deaths per year. And that we don't want, we don't want any families to have to get any family members to have superbugs or AMR issue, and at the end of the day, you cannot treat it. So this is why we need to find a way, like alternatives to antibiotics. Where I focus is the food supply chain. So I think this is where we can minimize the use of antibiotics that coming into, animal farming, the primary production in the farms, in the middle of the food supply chain, in the processing facilities, and coming into the finished food products.
Interesting. So your solutions, are they primarily focused on the beginning of the supply chain in the farming stage, or do they apply across the supply chain?
Yeah, that's a very good point. We started the technology by looking at each segment, we were like jumping along until now we actually equipped with the whole supply chain. When I started the project since my graduate studies at Cornell, so I started in the middle of the food supply chain. I started at the processing
Okay.
steps. So I focus more on the processed food and how to minimize the use of chemical treatments on those ready to eat meats or processed meat food products.
Right.
And when I look at it, why don't we just move to the start of the food supply chain in the primary production?
Right.
Animals, farmings, like when we produce chickens, when we produce fish, shrimps, pig, we use antibiotics
Right.
at the start. And the farms, in farming, we have seen the records of the farmers are using a lot of antibiotics,
Yes.
right? So I look at, that could be the opportunity, in Southeast Asia or Asia Pacific,
Right.
as we are, we are number 4 largest poultry producer in the world.
Right.
So, and also shrimp producer. So, this is where I move a little bit to the beginning of the food supply chain. So now
I see.
we kind of go beyond. So from farm, feed, food, and beyond.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's basically expanding your reach within the food supply chain and moving sort of
Yes.
vertically integrating in that spectrum as well. So great to hear about that and the discovery that you had to go through to realize where are the key areas where your technology can be applied. Now, the last point you mentioned, I think, is a good segue into our next question, which was about working in Thailand and the Southeast Asian region. So you mentioned that this region is often referred to as the kitchen of the world, and we are producing large quantities of both plant and animal-based food. So can you tell us a bit about how the experience has been operating within Thailand and the Southeast Asia region? What are the key opportunities that are specific to the region that have been helpful? But also maybe talk about some challenges of working in the region, especially I'm guessing when it comes to awareness of things like this. So can you talk about both the opportunity and challenge side of operating in Thailand and Southeast Asia?
Yes. When we look at the opportunity, there are great opportunity in terms of where to adopt our technology, because our technology is suitable for controlling foodborne pathogens or the bad bacteria across the food supply chain. And we talk about all these farming. In our region, we have all sort of farming. We have large quantity of the volume we supply to the world. And I think this is opportunity when we look at that the producers need a very specific way to control their system, to be safe, to have higher quality, to be effective in terms of productivity.
Right.
And when we look at it, that's also the need of the producer side or our customer, right? The food producer, and they need to find. And when we look at the global movement now, everyone is kind of aiming or projecting into sustainability.
Right.
It's how you're gonna produce food to have responsible food production and consumption.
Right.
I think we align that we have opportunity to actually work with our customers to have responsible production.
Right.
And for better consumption for the customers. And with that, like now they have very clear SDG goals. They have to reduce the use of chemical treatments into the farmland. They have to have better technology to be more effective.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's the opportunity we see in the region.
Interesting. So it reminds me a lot of things, especially when it comes to the narrative, both from a consumer standpoint, the end consumer, where there's more talk about eating healthy and eating safe food, or even buying more sustainably, and then on the other end of the spectrum, even productions, a lot of companies, and especially some of the larger food producers, they're focusing more on the SDG goals and making sure that they're meeting those targets on sustainability as well. So I think there's a demand from both sides, from the production side and from the actual consumption side.
Yes.
So it's a good time for you to operate in this market. And if you could maybe even talk about some of the challenges of operating in this region, and especially Thailand, where there's startups are still sort of not celebrated as much, if I may say that.
I think some of the challenges that we face is more of how to lay out the structure to educate the producers or our customers, because this is considered a new technology.
Right.
It's innovation. It's something that we just just introduce to them.
Right.
So and we know that they are our customers. They are like the first group of this like early adopter group.
I see.
So I think by learning how to educate them and how to interact with them, to show them that this is the alternative to their traditional ways of the previous methods or treatments they have been using in their farming or in their production. I think there's something that we have to work very closely with our customers to ensure that we are aligned. We understand, they understand our technology, and they know what our technology can serve them.
Right.
And even even sometimes in some aspects, some angles, we didn't see that our technology has a potential to serve in specific application.
Right.
But our customers actually engage and suggest that this is the way that our technology should be adopted or applied for their operations. I think this is great. I think this is like challenge turning into opportunity. Just the way of how we work out together, and of course there are customers who need more time to decide, to be engaged. And I think we can classify those customers, and we adjusted our strategy to educate them and work out together.
You're right. I mean, it's great to hear that there are some customers. The fact that there are early adopters in this market is already very interesting to hear, that the people who are trying to sort of move outside the tried and tested, and maybe reacting to how the market is evolving more quickly than some others. But more interesting was the fact that there are customers who are almost like co-building with you, if that makes sense. And whenever we talk to startup experts, the first thing they say is, hey, you should know your customers and work very closely with customers. So it's good to see you put that thought into practice as well. So that's great to hear. Now, there's one thing that maybe talking about the region, we can maybe dive a bit into, is the fact that you, I think a couple of years ago now, you raised a round of funding. And when I speak with founders, especially in Thailand, or even investors here in Thailand, the narrative at least is that raising in Thailand is a challenge. And especially the last couple of years, maybe even more, like past 3-4 years have been even more difficult, because there was a phase in time when funding was easy to come by, but now we've reached a point where investors are focusing more on margins and profitability and sort of maybe even shorter term return horizons. So in that context, what was your experience when you were raising, and do you have any advice for other founders who might be looking to raise here in Thailand?
Yeah, I think the moment I was raising for our seed round, it was kind of it's like a winter time, right?
Right. Yes, the funding winter.
Funding winter, yes. I think what we had to really look for the investor who really understand the market. I think when we are in the region, when we are in Thailand, Southeast Asia, we need investor who look at the technology and how the technology is gonna go to the right market.
Right.
So when we when we show to the investor it's our first adopter, our first market is actually Thailand and Southeast Asia. And when we talk about, we mention this to some of the investors maybe based in the US or Europe, they may not see that. They might just think that is this the right market?
Right.
Are you sure? And once we've been working out to identify our market, and we know that this is gonna be where we launch, where we have customers base, we have the majority of the wallet share here.
Right.
So, and we look around and I think the investor that understand is probably from the region.
I see.
So this is why we get investors based in Singapore, in Thailand, and also in the Philippines.
I see.
So I think this is something that maybe founders can, have in mind that you just have to have, especially for the seed round,
Right.
you must have investors that understand your technology and the market and how you're going to grow for the next phase.
Yeah, that's a great insight because you're right. A lot of people who are not based here, or a lot of investors who are not based here, would not really relate to the problem or wouldn't see the on the ground realities that you are trying to solve for and the technology that you are using to solve it. So I think that's great advice, that if you're looking for investments, look for people who understand the market, understand the problem, and hopefully also understand the solution that you are bringing to market. So I think that's a good piece of advice for the early stage founders in our audience who are listening to this episode. Now, maybe taking a step back, so we've talked about the solutions you're applying within your market, but taking a step back, if you look at the wider biotech, agri-tech space in Thailand, we've already established that this is a great market to be in. Do you still see some untapped opportunities that you feel other startups in the region should be addressing? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, when we talk about biotech, I look at, how you utilize in, biotechnology to increase productivity, to make, better, to be a better solution for agricultural practices, for animal farming and in this space. So I believe in anything that is nature-based solution.
I see.
Combined with, nowadays they have AI tools that coming in. Yes, of course, people need to be utilize this as a tool to increase your productivity, to be more effective in your production. And coming to biotech as a nature-based solution, I think there are different options that now, the food manufacturers, the food producers can look at and utilize this, especially nowadays when we talk about if you are still considering using the same technologies that you heavily rely on chemical-based polymers and so on, those are gonna be, the pricing are really increasing.
I see. Okay,
yeah, like anything that is petroleum-based, chemical-based, and why not look around to explore what you have in the region, especially the nature-based solution from biotechnology. And of course, AI is something you can deploy and you can utilize that. It just, I think, I just want to bring this up because chemical-based now, if you compare the pricing, it's not going to be the same. Yeah.
I see. So chemical-based would now be more expensive.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting
like
to hear.
Like pesticides and those that you mentioned earlier.
That's great to hear because typically the narrative, especially when you're a consumer side, okay, if you're buying healthy, organic, nature-based stuff, it is going to be more expensive, and that's, as a consumer, that was my mindset. But it's interesting to hear that we have reached a point where nature-based solutions are lower in price compared to chemical, artificial ones. So it's good to know, and I think that is a sign that things are moving in the right direction. So that's something I did not know, and it's interesting to hear. There's one quick follow-up question. You mentioned the use of AI, and that's something that everybody and their grandma is talking about these days. But so outside of perhaps the office admin productivity gains that I'm sure AI is providing you. Do you see any clear applications of AI on the technology side of the work that you do?
Yes, for us to have a very effective and the most suitable formulation for our customers. Now we have, our in-house machine learning system and incorporating this AI to really customize the formulation to serve customer ABC. So we really need to look at we have the database that we understand the bacteria that are causing the issues for our customers, and we are tracking that. We have the history data or the mapping data to look at historical bacteria presence in the food supply chain, and with that we can formulate the right solution for our customers to use in their farming, for their poultry production, for their shrimp production, and also in the food production facilities.
Interesting. So essentially AI is allowing you to customize at scale that perhaps you weren't able to do before the machine learning came into play. Interesting. So it's because typically when people think of biotech, agritech, they think of sort of more traditional forms of technology, but it's interesting to hear that you have found application for machine learning, especially when it comes to customizing to your customers' specific problem. So, and I'm sure you're only getting started because the technology is maturing very fast. So with each passing year, there's sort of new capabilities that I'm sure you'd be adding moving forward. So I'll be following your LinkedIn page to see what you're up to next.
Yeah, and that gives us like more precise in terms of how to solve the issues faster and very targeted for our customers.
Yeah, I mean that's I think a great use of technology in the right direction as opposed to just prompting GPT with write this email for me. So it's good to know that there's real world application that you're already using beyond just the basics. Now, I'm sort of switching gears here a little bit and talking about, so we've talked about business, we've talked about the region, we've talked about the larger opportunity in the market, but one thing is that Vidushi has been talking about you for ages now, but we connected in school.
Yes.
So, and this is something that Vidushi and I, working in our line of work, also realized that when you become a parent, there's an additional layer to the work that you're doing in terms of the sense of responsibility and in the sense of the work-life balance and things of that nature. So can you maybe talk about being a founder and being a parent and managing both at the same time, and what has that journey taught you as a founder as well?
Yeah. So I think one thing is we have to look at our capability, and we need to really lay out our own, people have, we have our own schedule. We know like our calendar, we all have 30 days in a month, it's all the same. But it's just how we have that a moment just to sit down and lay out your calendar, your capability to put in your work schedule, your family schedule. I think we all can lay out this. It's just a matter how are you going to do it. I think that's one thing I really look at, like, okay, 3 days I'm gonna do this for my family, 4 days I'm gonna do this for work. After these hours gonna be work hour. I think you learn yourself, you know yourself best. And of course, you are not alone. You have your team. You try to get support from other people. I think don't be hesitate to ask for help. So I think when you work with your team, you understand them, and you select the team that understand you.
Right.
I think this is the dynamic. It's like you have your partner. You know your partner knows you. Right. I think it's the dynamics of working out together as a team. That's very important.
Yeah, that's a great insight, and this is something that we also find, that having good people around us, both the team at work and the team at home.
Yes.
So it helps to have that support system around, and obviously there's there's other things that parenting teaches you in terms of patience and things that you can then apply to your work life as well.
Yeah. It's similar to when we teach our kids. Like everything the kids see and learn, they try to mimic the parents, right? So yeah, in the company, we try to show them example. I try to have this leadership role to show to them how this is going to work. So we work as a team, as I mentioned earlier. We encourage employees to not just to be alone and work on their own. And when we work as a team, of course you will see the ability of each employee will have different skills of learning. So it's like each of the kids we have to have the way to actually train them, teach them. So we adjust how we operate or train them based on their learning style. I think that is one of the keys to really train your employees, and you see who's gonna be the talent, who is gonna be someone that you keep in the company because that is a talent for your growth.
Thanks for sharing that perspective. Now, you've come a long way since you started, and I'm sure you are envisioning a much longer way to go. So can you maybe tell us about some of the key milestones or projects or goals you're working towards at UniFAHS, or any interesting announcements that you have for us?
Yes, so now, it's been a great journey for us since our seed round, and we have been growing more. We have expanded the team from just a few people. Now we have more than 20 people, and we have sales team across Southeast Asia, Asia Pacific, and going to South Asia. In India and the 5 countries around in South Asia, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan.
Wow.
So I think it's been a great journey within these 2 years of the seed funding. And now we are moving into our pre-A round funding. So, and again, when we look at our market, we are capturing now, not just Asia Pacific. We are going to South Asia.
Okay.
We are also extend to GCC, the Gulf region.
Nice.
So I think with this market potential, we are reaching out to investors across. As I mentioned, investors need to understand our market potential, right? So at the beginning when we were just starting, we were just at the seed round. The investor group might be just specific to the region, Thailand or Southeast Asia, Asia Pacific. But now we're reaching out to investors across to see that we are scaling, we are reaching the global scale. I think this is where we see UniFAHS is gonna, have to get into the pre-A round and going into the global market.
Well, that's first of all, congratulations on that, and maybe even taking a step back and looking at it as somebody who calls Thailand home. We always see brands and companies and startups being imported into Thailand. So it's always it makes me happy as an individual as well to see Thai startups and brands and companies expanding outside of Thailand, not just regionally, but even, like you said, the South Asia or even GCC parts of the world. So it just makes me happy to hear that, and I congratulate you on that milestone, and I'm wishing you all the best and rooting for you to succeed in those markets as well. There's one quick question I had, maybe I should have asked this earlier, is can you tell us a bit about the naming of UniFAHS and how that came to be?
I think, when we started, we want to kind of cover the aspect of the phage application or our technology application to be, from farm free food, and beyond that is animal health, and in the future we are going to human health.
Okay.
So it's actually unique phage-based solution.
Okay.
So for food, that is F. The first F is food. Animal is the A. Food, animal, human safety. So
okay.
that is
Interesting.
UniFAHS.
Okay,
Yes,
that's
so-
a great approach to naming. It's just sort of
Yes.
future-proofing your name
Yes,
as well. So
yes.
to cover the vision that you have for the future as well. So yeah, that's. I think that brings us to the end of our conversation. Kitiya, it has been a pleasure getting to know your work, and it's something that's very interesting and a field that I feel is very needed at this point. So I congratulate you on the journey you've covered so far. We wish you all the best for what's next, and we'll hopefully have more of these conversations online, offline, in PTA meetings. And stuff like that.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time. Do you have any quick message to people who are listening before we log out for the day?
Yeah, I think even you come up with the technology, whether your background is scientists, researchers, or your background is from business, I think these technologies need to really align to the customers. So we would like to adopt the technology based on the customer's need or what the customer requires. So I think part of our journey is like we are very customer centric. We really focus on how we can solve the problems of our customers, and if you just keep listening to them, you get the next version of your technology. You can move very fast once you get this insight directly from your customers. That is
awesome. Yeah, that's one advice that a lot of people talk about, but not everybody implements it. So I hope people listening, especially some of the early stage startups, understand that being customer centric, and if you can really walk the talk on being customer centric, it sort of solves half your problems as a company anyway. So yeah, that's a great message to end our conversation on. I appreciate taking the time, and I hope we see you in a future episode once, perhaps even in India.
Yes,
thanks for your time. Thanks to everybody who tuned in. If you like the episode, make sure to subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.